Amen.
This is live, Kim. Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I need a motion for the adoption of the agenda. We have a motion by Ms. Deutschman, a second by Ms. Powers. Do you have any comments? All those in favor? Aye. Passes 5-0. I'm now going to turn this over to Ms. Himmel.
Before I start with my opening comments, I would like to introduce a few people. In the back of the room is our Chairman of the County Commissioners, Commissioner Joe Meek. Thank you for coming. Commissioner Rebecca Bays, our County Administrator, Mr. Brad Thorpe, County Attorney Richard Wesch, Kathy Taylor, Office of Management and Budget, and Commissioner J.J. Smith. J.J. Smith, you said, is, okay. Did I, I'll get it out in a minute. J.J. Kenny?
He's there.
He is there?
Yep.
Okay. And supposedly a couple of our representatives are here or will be showing up, so if they do, we'll acknowledge them, and our property appraiser will be introduced as on our agenda. The purpose of this meeting is to inform our school board and our public about the situation regarding Duke's Energy, formerly Progress Energy, property tax payment. The tax assessment of the Chris River Power Plant owned by Progress Energy is approximately 25% of our total county tax revenues. The value of this assessment is approximately $35 million, of which 50% of that is the school board's money. Progress Energy has disputed the actual value of the plant in the past, but has always been able to resolve that issue with our property appraiser. During a meeting this week, Duke Energy, the new owner, informed the county and the school district that they would not be paying the total tax bill, and they wanted the district and the county to accept a $30 million offer. The school district and the county do not have the authority to assess property values or accept tax bill less than the assessed value as established by the property appraiser. The current reality is that the Citrus County School District will receive approximately $8 million less in revenue that was budgeted. The district is currently 5 months into our existing budget, and the loss of $8 million will be devastating. Duke Energy's actions may seem strategic to business personnel, but to us it is seen as an unethical and a clear message that they do not value our community, our citizens, or our students. This action at this time will jeopardize every facet of our school system. This district and this school board have managed our funds conservatively over the past few years, and as a result, we will be able to develop a plan to get us through the current school year without any layoffs of personnel. This is, however, a strong likelihood that any open position will remain open in the current year, and possible additional cuts will be made in the 2013-14 school year as well as future years. There's no way to know how this will impact us as we plan for upcoming school years, and much of this is out of our control. The school board and district do not have a role in assessing property values, and the only millage we can raise is currently capped at 1.5. This has hit us at a time when our district thought we had made it through our worst financial years and revenues would be getting better. We are now faced with the challenge of dealing with this loss of money and a continuation of loss in future years until this issue is resolved. We have been fortunate in the past to have a fund balance that has allowed us to operate during lean years without reducing services. That will not be the case with this current situation. The past few years of reduced revenues have left our fund balance at a level that cannot withstand an $8 million deficit. Duke Energy has been made aware of the impact their decision has on our county, our school district, and the education of our students. Their response indicates to me again that they simply do not care. I want this board to know that my staff and I have been working with our state contacts to look for revenue sources to help us avoid some of the more immediate losses. It is too early for us to know if any of these avenues will produce results, but I want you to know that we have been and will continue to work diligently around the clock to look for solutions. And at this time, I will ask Mr. Green, because Ms. Bryan has asked Mr. Green to present to us and to the board, and we'll turn it over to Mr. Green right now.
Good afternoon. Thank you. What I'm going to attempt to do is try to bring you up to speed on how we got where we are, give you a little bit of a history. I will tell you that as of a few minutes ago. We now know that the litigation has been filed in the court system. I have not been served yet, but it's coming. So I just want to give you a heads up to that. First of all, we'll start off with, this is an overview. You can look at either screen of what we're dealing with. We've got units 1 and 2, which are coal, 4 and 5, and of course the nuclear 3. This is what we're going to be discussing, and this is the values that we're going to be talking about. This slide shows you a couple of important things. In the red, you'll see that Crystal River plant in Citrus County generates 31% of all the generation of power in the whole system statewide. So we're a big deal, 31%. And remember that number because I'm going to come back to it, please. Why is Progress Energy so important to Citrus County? Very simply, if you look at the pie chart, they represent, as Ms. Himmel said, approximately 26% of our revenues for Citrus County. If we look at the top other big taxpayers in Citrus County, you can see by far they are the largest at $35,725,081. So they're huge. If you also look at the next slide, you can see where historically when the values went crazy and spiked for whatever reason, we did not, in the blue, you can notice that we did not aggressively assess Progress Energy, even though they were adding $1.4 billion in equipment in 2009, 10, and 11. We've held the blue, we've held them pretty consistent, trying to keep them in line with other counties, and I'll show you that again in a minute. The utility evaluation approach, we have to appraise the entire system of the generation, all statewide, and then we are allocated back a portion of that system. So it's a very involved process. It's a very complex property. I use a man by the name of William Keith, who was their senior tax person for 32 years. He now works for me, has for the last 3.5, 4 years, or longer. So he takes a look at their return. He does the valuation. He consults with Les Cook. I apologize. This is Les Cook, my chief deputy. He converses with myself and Les, and we look at different things within the methodology, such as cap rates or allocations, and we make recommendations back to him. He comes up with a value. We then certify the roll. The next slide, since the 1998 litigation, 14 years ago, when Ron Schultz was property appraiser, ever since then, we have negotiated every year the value with a handshake. And we go back to work, and they go back to work. In 2009, an equity issue arose and was first shared with me, the current property appraiser, at that time. Starting in 2010, because they were making large investments out there, we tried to work with them to bring them their cost to book rate down so they'd be more in line with other counties in the state of Florida. And we accomplished that in 2010 and 11, and we maintained that through 12. Again, not being aggressive, but trying to be fair. And between 2009 and 2010, they made an excess of $1.4 billion investment in pollution control. Next is, why is pollution control, value of pollution control history? County property appraiser Ron Schultz denied the pollution control in 1998. Now, we're going back a long time, 1998. He denied it, and it was upheld in Judge Thomas's court because the statute was found to be unconstitutional. There is a statute on the books that pollution control should be valued at salvage value, 10 or 20%. But Ron's position was because the Constitution came later, and it wasn't one of the 4 exemptions within the Constitution, that the statute is unconstitutional, and it held up in the local courts. So ever since then, we've been negotiating a value each year with them. The key legal issue in 1998, the court case resolved around the classification of the valuation of pollution control. The Constitution does not list pollution control, and the Citrus court found the ruling of the statute to be unconstitutional. So the parties at that time, Bill Keith, Ron Schultz, entered into an agreement, and we have been following the manner of that agreement, even though it was only for 1 year. We have been following the spirit of that agreement for the last 14 years, the different property appraisers, and trying to arrive at a value each year through negotiations and through give and take of any of the methodologies in the appraisal process. And this is the circuit court case that was signed on April 27th, 1998 by Patricia Thomas, judge then. A little bit of a wrinkle in this is that in 2008, you can see here from the Supreme Court in another case found that the property appraiser does not have standing in his or her official capacity to raise the constitutionality of a statute as a defense in a tax suit filed by a taxpayer. So what that means is I now lack standing, different than when Ron Schultz was a property appraiser, he had standing. So I have to have you, board, or the BOCC, or a taxpayer, or some tax person join into litigation with us, if I'm going to use the constitutional defense, and we certainly want to. The issues are, very simply, Progress Energy is disputing assessment of over $1.4 billion in recent investments, much of which is pollution control. 31%, this is where that important number comes in to me, 31% of the entire system is generated in Citrus County. Using the allocation method, they want us to accept only 15% value back when we're generating 31%. And the other factor is we have 80% of the pollution right here in Citrus County. I use the statement that the old boaters can find their way home by looking at the orange clouds. And some of y'all may know that. So the pollution's here, we generate a large portion of it, of the energy, but we're only getting 15% back on the allocation. This may be an issue. They began negotiations for a pre-1998 tax level. In other words, the value they've established on their good faith payment is about $1.2 billion right now. We're at $2.3 billion in the assessment. So their actual $1.2 billion is less than the value in 1998, and they have since added over $1.4 billion to that. So my choices after talking to them in May and June about their assessment was to jump off the taxable cliff and take the taxing authorities with me, or be pushed off the cliff. I decided to first pursue dialogue with the taxing authorities, and I did. The BOCC, Ms. Himmel, Kenny, and other people. And we kind of all decided nobody wanted to jump. Since then, we've waited to see what their response would be, and now we've gotten it with a good faith payment of the $19,363,000, whatever it is. So, as Ms. Himmel was correctly pointing out, if you look at the potential worst case scenario, we're looking at the school losing about $8.1 million. We're looking at the BOCC losing about $7.5 million. And then the other taxing authorities about $1 million. That's the $19 million good faith payment. This is a history, trying to put things into comparison a little bit. When I said their assessment was below 1998 levels, you can see in 1998, the tax bill was $27 million. 1998. Today they're paying $19 million. They want to pay $19 million. So in effect, last year they paid $34 million. So that's a little bit of history going back in the tax payments. So strategic timeline by Duke Energy, and I think this is extremely telling. We had a St. Pete meeting set up with Brad Thorpe, Richard Wesch, Les Cook, and myself to go down and meet with Vinnie Dolan, the then president, CEO of Progress Energy. We all drove down and we met down there. Mr. Dolan did not show, did not meet with us, would not meet with us. We didn't know why. But we met with our PR staff, and that's the first time we've heard of a dispute of $35 million to 19 million. And we really weren't going down there for that issue. We were going down there for an issue of when they repair CR3, how can we help each other? In other words, help us on the front end with some taxes, and when you put that $1 or $2 billion out there in investment, we'll help you. So it was a strategy to try to get down the road a little bit together. That's what we thought we were going down for the meeting for. When we get down there, we hear 30, 35, 19. We didn't know what they were talking about. The other thing is, on May 25th, we discussed the values, exchange draft work papers after meeting by email. August 22nd, we mailed the trim notice, and as you know, all taxpayers, just like them, and you and me, have 25 days to appeal for Florida statutes. We didn't hear a word. Progress Energy, August 31st, requested final work papers. We sent them the same day. PGN, September 24th, requested public records informal conference and the tax roll certification date. We don't know what date we certified the tax roll. Very telling. We shut down September 26th to certify the roll, and October 2nd, we did certify the roll. October 30th, they asked for an informal conference, and we had one on October 1st. Now, keep in mind, the roll's been certified since the 2nd. So what is there to talk about? Y'all have already set your millage. The BOCC has set their millages. All the taxing authorities have, and they're coming in after the certification of the roll to demand, and their demand was very straightforward, an informal conference with Mr. Keith Butler, Senior VP of Tax, demanding